Hello everybody, this is Gregory with 5-Minute Catholic Apologetics, where 5 minutes of your time may get you to the divine. Today we're going to talk about Jesus' brothers. Now before we begin, let's start with a prayer. In nomine Patris et Filii et Spiritui Sancti. Amen. Gloria Patri et Filii et Spiritui Sancto, sic ut erat in principio et nunc et semper et saecula saeculorum. Amen. So this is a common belief among Protestants. So if you ever have a Protestant tell you that Jesus had brothers, there's a way to easily refute this without even using sacred oral tradition. You can just use the scriptures. So lots of times they're going to go to Mark chapter 6, verse 3, where it says, "Isn't this the carpenter's son, brother James and Joseph and Judas and Simon?" And a couple of those names are mentioned again in Matthew 15. Now, when you hear that, understand a couple of things. Like, there is no necessary word for extended family in the old Koine Greek. So you kind of see, like with Abraham and Lot, they were considered brothers, even though you can cross-reference it later on in Genesis that they were, in fact, uncle and nephew. So the fact that it says brothers and then lists a couple of these guys doesn't mean anything, because look, you can cross-reference this later on. So let's look at the examples of Christ's passion. So you look at Matthew 27, verse 56. Who's mentioned at the cross? Mary, Jesus' mother, Mary Magdalene, and Mary, mother of James and Joseph, two of the guys that are mentioned in Mark 6:3. Then you look at John 19:25, who's at the cross? Mary Magdalene, and Mary's sister, Mary, wife of Clopas. And so you can cross-reference this and see that the Mary, wife of Clopas, is in fact the mother of the brothers that are mentioned in Mark. And so what you find out later on is there was a saint, Saint Hegesippus. He was a Jewish convert, and he later, this is maybe 100 years later, interviewed the grandsons of Saint Jude being one of the apostles. And when he interviewed him, they confirmed that Clopas, Mary, wife of Clopas was Saint Joseph's brother. And therefore, Mary, his wife, is the sister-in-law to Mary and Joseph. So that's where you get it. So they were all related. And the James that's mentioned is typically tradition would tell you, is the writer of the Epistle of James, which is my second favorite epistle. And he was the Bishop of Jerusalem, who was later, and we talk about this in the How Did the 12 Apostles Die? He was thrown off a parapet and his head was smashed. But he is a kinsman of Jesus. And I think the biggest thing is just understand, you can just cross-reference all these things. Every time Mary, wife of Clopas, is mentioned, and then it mentions in John who she is, she's Mary's sister through marriage, and that through history, because lots of times Protestants think there's like no history to read after the book of Revelation all the way to Martin Luther. History will tell you through Saint Hegesippus that in fact Clopas was Joseph's brother. And the other thing, I think the most damning thing is if the Protestant ever says that Jesus had brothers, that Mary had other children, prove it. The episode we have, the two phrases you need to know really: show me and prove it. Where does it say in Scripture, aside from what I've talked about? And this is all Scripture, this isn't sacred oral tradition. So Scripture in itself tells you that the brother of Jesus that's mentioned in Mark is cross-referenced later on, actually has another mother that's not Mary, the Virgin Mother. But the other thing is, find in the Gospels or in the epistles or anywhere where it says Mary had other children. Find it. Prove it. Show me. You can't. There's nowhere in Scripture that specifically says Mary had other children. So you look at that, You look at Mary, wife of Clopas, and again, it's just the most important thing. Why do we believe that Mary, and we definitely have 2 videos here fleshing out the 4 Marian dogma, Immaculate Conception, Assumption, Virgin Birth, and her being a perpetual virgin and being the mother of God. We don't have to prove everything in Scripture. We have the episode, Show Me Where in the Bible, ... fallacy. We believe these because the church founded by Jesus Christ teaches this, and as such, as obedient Christians, we believe this. But I don't need to rely on sacred oral tradition. In this case, scripturally, it shows this. So guys, the next time somebody says that Jesus had actual biological brothers, that's what you tell them. Just tell wife of Clopas and say, okay, show me in Scripture, because a lot of these people are Bible alone. Show me in Scripture where they had it. And then this episode is just about Mary, wife of Clopas, and we're not focusing on the preposition, first birth until. We cover that in the Mary episodes. By the way, guys, post in the comments. I'd love to hear from you. Please hit the notification, subscribe, and share button. Share with like-minded people. Pray for Mary's intercession. Until next time, take care, God bless, and pray.